Hi, welcome to the Market Alert for Friday, the 26th of June 2020. So, stock surge as bank bonanza beats COVID concerns. We'll get to this in just a moment, but I want to start off with yesterday's trades and go through those first. So, let's have a look and let's start with yesterday morning. Here you can see the market opening at 8 a.m. And again, we've got exactly the same as we had the day before, which I spoke about in the Market Alert, where there was this fight in the sideways move and the range of the bars were quite high up and down outside of the criteria that we've currently got, because you get this volatility at the beginning, and it's trying to find that balance where you don't want a signal that is a wide bar and then there's no momentum to follow, because otherwise you're just risking too many points on the trade. So what I looked at yesterday in this particular one was that we've got the 200 bar moving average here. The green line is the 20 bar moving average and the 5 bar. So I'm not getting any signals, but I'm looking to see what the market's telling me. And this first bar, I can see that there's some green buying here. This is completely red, so I know that they're actually selling. And then I've got green with green, so there was some buying trying to move prices to the upside. However, if you look at the 200 bar moving average here, the black line, you can see that prices are struggling here. So what I did, I'm going to fast forward this. There's going to be a lot of fast forwarding through these trades, because I want to try and keep it brief as well. So now you can see that 200 bar moving average has become a resistance level, and as the market moves lower, we have this selling coming back into the market. You can see this, I've got a red bar with red volume. I also have this psychological level in the way, and I want to see this taken out. Now I'm not getting a signal here because of the range of the bar, and for the reasons that I've just mentioned. So as this is drawn and completed, what I've done is I actually preempted a potential sell. I thought, well, if we break this BRN here, this psychological level, then we'll move to the downside, because we've got the selling, we've got the weakness, we've got the weakness in the pre-market as well, we've got the 200 bar moving average. So it's a pretty safe bet that I could have a stop loss just above this area. So I've gone short, and the market's playing around, and then eventually it takes off to the downside. And this is what we're looking for in a trade. We want the market to drive through the scalp level on a big bar. And now we're heading towards the first psychological level. There you go, you can see. So there's the scalp. I call this the first profit target, and then I have to make a decision depending on what happens with the price action at this level. We've broken the psychological level. The volume is increasing, so there's selling. And also I can see that I have the previous day's low also to consider here as well. So I'm going to fast forward all the way through this now. So you can see the confirmation of the selling. I've got an increase in selling as well, so the momentum is to the downside. So I'm reading the market on a bar by bar basis. Now, at these sort of levels, you will see the market find some sort of support where it'll attempt to come back, especially if there are some limit orders down in this level of traders who think that this is where there should be some support. So as prices trade through the low, and you can see the volume, and the volume is key with trading, there's no doubts about it. Now this is green, so why is this volume green inside of this red bar? Well, the key is very simple. Here you've got the range of the previous bar, selling, it's driven all the way down, and there is selling. This bar that follows, the range of it is less than the previous bar, but the volume is greater. So that means that at this level here, there are some buy orders, or there is profit taking by those that have been short. And if they're short on the futures contract, they have to buy the position back to actually turn it flat or to close the position out. And that's what you're seeing. So this is a warning sign to say, look, there's profit taking and there's some buying coming back into the market at this level. So what I'm looking at now is the 5 bar moving average and following this through just to see what it is going to do, whether it's going to catch up or prices are going to continue lower. So again, you can see how prices are oscillating at this psychological level. and you can see the volume building there. And also we've got a situation here where we've had the profit taking and the brakes being put on prices as they've moved lower. That's what you're seeing with the red inside of the green. It's the brakes are on in the market. But eventually the BRN relents and we get further selling. Again, we can see the red inside of the red, a complete red bar there. And that's what you want to see when you're short. You want to see these bars, and then prices continue lower. So let me just make an adjustment here so I can continue with this. So now I'm looking for prices to close back above the 5-bar moving average. Now you can see how prices have reversed here as well with the volume, and again you've got this psychological level here where we could expect prices to move back to the upside as well. And you again notice the volume building here very quickly. And also there's another observation, and that is that the volume is starting to drop off. You can see how it peaked in the move to the downside, and now it's starting to drop off there. And again we have another test of the downside, and basically this is the trader saying, well look, if you want to sell, let's have a look, see how many of you are keen. So they thrust the price down, and you can see the volume there building. They go towards the BRN, say come on then, and then you see them bring in the price back. So now we see prices trying to find some sort of support. I'm looking for a close above the 5-bar moving average there to call it quits, and there you see this occur. So that's the point for me where the market is likely to start changing. We'll see some sort of a pullback before we start to move to the upside. So let's move on to the second trade there. You can see just by managing the trade through the price bars and the BRNs, the lows, the pivots, etc. You can see that the potential there on that trade was 100 points. So the second trade, you can see prices starting to move higher. We get the potential buy signal. We get prices moving through the entry, which is also the BRN. Not the best of places, I have to say, but prices do manage to move through and trade up to the scalp. We've not got much momentum here, and you can see this now as prices have just gone through the scalp, and it's at this point you think, well, has it really got any upside potential given how much it had dropped in the morning? Is this just a dead cat bounce? So you'll see me reapply the trade markup just to get some sort of idea of what it's doing. But quickly I can see that prices haven't got the momentum. They start to come back, and you'll see there they come back towards the BRN. And at this level, you can expect to see some sort of selling in the market by other traders at these levels, which I mentioned earlier. So prices come back, the volume's building, and it's a case of exit stage left, and then see what the market's going to do at this level. So now I'm going to fast forward because I'm having a look to see what I could learn from this. Even though I'm out, I'm just looking to see if there's a possibility that the market may not go short and could actually move back to the upside. So here I'm looking to see what's going on. Prices are sitting at the previous day's low. They've closed below the 5-bar moving average, but they're still above the 20-bar. So as each bar starts to draw, I'm looking for clues to see what's going on. And again, I can see that the BRN there is actually creating a resistance for the prices. You can see they're just not breaking through, and we had some selling here, which we can see with the red inside of the green. So prices attempt to move higher, they then are forced back down. Now I'm looking at the low to see if the low is going to hold, see if the price bars remain green. Price bars remain green, and then you'll see prices turn around and close back above the 5-bar moving average. Also, there's a very subtle thing going on in here. This bar and this bar, you will see that the volume in the tiny bar to the left of the one that's currently being drawn, the volume is more or less the same, and it hasn't actually moved lower. So at this area here, they're actually buying back into the market. Now, had I have stayed with this trade, of course, I would have been stopped out because the stop is just below the green dot there. So prices then start to move sideways, and then eventually staying above the 5-bar moving average and then drive through. And that's what we wanted to see at this signal here, but we didn't get it. And this is a pattern that's actually, I've noticed, is starting to happen. So aware of this actually going on in the market. So again, we've got a bit of weakness here, and you'll see these red bars like this because you've got selling to the left there. So that selling is also highlighted, and then prices moving higher. Now we've got the 200 bar moving average in the way here. We need to take this out if prices are to move higher. I'm not in the trade at this point. I'm just showing you the thought process of learning from what you actually see. Now again, you can see that this bar, when it gets to the psychological level and the 200 bar moving average, you'll see the volume is more or less the same as well, as some sell orders obviously sitting in this area. But fortunately, prices drive through, and that's what you want to see in areas where there is some selling, prices driving to the upside there. So I'm going to fast forward all the way through this because prices continued, which is quite galling when you see this. But again, it's an invaluable lesson. Don't just dismiss it, but actually go back, have a look, and see what can actually be learned to actually apply later on. And again, you'll see this is the first bar that closes below the 5-bar moving average there as prices come back. So that takes care of the morning session. Then it was on to the afternoon, and after moving lower, we see prices move down, and they find support, and then we get a potential buy signal. And again, this is not too dissimilar from the trade that we saw earlier in the morning session, where we went through the psychological level, the BRN. You can see their prices struggling, and then they hit the scalp. And again, it's a tiny bar going through here, but the volume has increased. It's there is quite a bit of volume there. But once again, prices start to trade sideways, and they come back. Now, interestingly enough here, you'll see this is exactly what we had in the morning, except the morning trade we were looking at the previous day's low. Now we're struggling with the previous day's close. But once again, an observation here, the 200 bar moving average, once prices break above this level, it tends to become a support. So it's a case of, will prices actually move higher before they take the stop out here? So I'm going to fast forward, and you will see prices there driving through, just as we saw earlier in the morning session. Again, you become familiar with the patterns of particular markets, and now you can see this starting to drive higher. The question is, why did it move higher? And it's because of this. Stocks storm back in green after regulators ease Volcker rule ahead of stress test results. Basically, the Fed has said, you forget the stress criteria. You can just, we're going to relax it. I'm not going to go into the details of that because we're looking at the trades. And that's exactly why this market then continued to move higher and drove higher. All it needed was that one catalyst of news. The unemployment figures were bad. Once more, there's some potential weakness coming into the market, which you can see there. So if you are long on this trade, again, you want to be aware of that potential weakness. And again, I'm going to fast forward through this, and you'll see prices coming back and closing below the 5-bar moving average for this trade. We're just a bit further so that you can see as the bar completes. Oops, let's go back. There we go. So there you can see the completion of the trade. But it was one of those that had to come back, but it had an area of support there. As Mark Douglas says in his book, it's going to cost you 1% to find out whether the trade is going to be successful or not. There was a potential sell signal. This didn't remain for long, because then this was, as prices moved back up, you'll see this removed. If I again just try and drag to speed things up. So now we have a buy and a sell signal, and it's a case of whichever one is filled first, which is requires a certain amount of dexterity, because obviously we don't know which one, and if you're already set up with a sell ticket, it's a case of trying to figure out how and which one. But all is not lost when you get this situation, because generally you won't, one signal will actually disappear before the other. And also if the market goes through the entry price and you're not ready, wait. Generally 7 to 8 times out of 10 it will actually come back, especially if it's at a psychological level as well. So I'm going to speed things up here, and you'll see the sell signal disappear, and then the buy side is filled. And again, you can see prices oscillating as they come back and forth, and then you'll see prices moving through. And I fast forward here again, because we've got another situation where prices simply aren't making any progress. They went through on the to the scalp and then came back, and again the same pattern as we had in the morning there. And then you'll see prices just becoming sideways, and it's also getting towards 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if it's making no progress, take the money or wait and see what happens there. And finally, the last signal for the afternoon was a sell signal, which wasn't filled. Prices reverse and then continue back to the upside, which again I'll just fast forward for you. You can see that being taken out. Okay, so that was yesterday trades. Let's have a quick look and see where we are in the bigger picture of things today. We'll start off with the Dow. I'm only going to look at the daily charts. You can see there's some potential weakness around at the moment. We're still below the 20 bar moving average and the 200 bar. And given the relaxing of the Volcker rules yesterday, now these are out of the way, we could see a continuation of the downside weakness in this market. Also in the DAX, let's just bring this up as well. And the daily chart for the German DAX is still showing more strength than the US market. We're still above the 200 bar moving average. We've got a green bar for yesterday. And also yesterday, note yesterday's low in the morning trade was the 62% retracement from this high, from this low to this high. So we'll be looking for any sort of weakness moving back towards the upside from this high to this low as well, which you can see prices have just headed towards that 62. Let me just drag the chart over, and this way you'll be able to see that a bit more clearly. And there you can see. So at the moment we're above the 200 bar moving average for the DAX in the daily chart. Got some resistance at the 12365 level there. And news today, well, not a lot. That's for sure. Not much news today. Just medium impact. Okay, that's it for this one. Apologies, it's a bit of a long one, but I wanted to cover the thought process and details in the trade, as a lot of people have asked for it. So there you go. Have a great weekend, and as ever, thanks for watching. See you in the next